Good afternoon, everybody. This is Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading. This just popped up, and I want to share this with you in light of one of my recent posts. This is Upward Look TV. It's only just a little over 7 minutes long. I'm going to play it for you. It is the New York Times reports that the number of breast amputations performed on quote-unquote trans kids has quote-unquote exploded. Now, I have a comment on this. There is a war against femininity and women, not only in this country, but around the world. There is a war against our children. There is a war against birthing children. They are stealing the uteruses of farm workers in other countries. They are now amputating the breasts off of our children here in the United States. Now, what are they doing with these stolen appendages? What are they doing with the breast tissue? What are they doing with the penises and the vaginas and the uterus? What are they doing? This is trafficking. This is organ trafficking, folks. Do you think that they're taking the breasts off of these beautiful young girls and attaching them to girls who want to be boys? Boys who want to be girls? Are they selling them for profit the way they do with aborted fetuses? What is happening here, folks? Why is this permitted? Why are children permitted to mutilate their bodies when they can't even vote yet? Why are parents permitting this? I'm going to play this, folks, and you be the judge. I would like to hear your opinion on this.
Reports that the number of breast amputations performed on transgender kids has exploded. Transgender top surgeries, in which a female's breasts are amputated to relieve distress due to their womanly appearance, have reportedly exploded among minors in recent years. While there are no official statistics on how many minors receive double mastectomy, transgender top surgeries each year, in the U.S., the numbers that are available indicate that such operations have skyrocketed over the past few years, according to a New York Times article published on Monday. The Times cited, as an example, numbers from Kaiser Permanente Oakland Medical Center in California, which reportedly performed 70 top surgeries on teenagers in 2019, a dramatic increase from its 5 teenage top surgeries in 2013. I can't honestly think of another field where the volume has exploded like that, Dr. Karen Yoku, a retired plastic surgeon at the hospital, told the Times. A New York Times survey of 26 leading pediatric gender clinics in the U.S. found that many reported long waiting lists for adolescent top surgeries. 11 clinics reported a total of 203 procedures on minors in 2021, but this is only a fraction of the total number of teen top surgeries for that year. 9 clinics declined to respond altogether, and 6 shared that they referred patients to private practice surgeons. The evidence of a spike in top surgeries for minors reflects a corresponding rise in self-identified transgender teens, as well as young adults. According to the Williams Institute, about 700,000 people under 25 identified as transgender in 2020, which it says is almost double the estimate from 2017. According to experts, this explosion in self-identification as transgender is largely driven by social media, mainstream media, and peer influence. For example, Dr. Lisa Littman published a landmark study on rapid-onset gender dysphoria in 2018 that found that 86.7% of the parents of gender dysphoric teenagers reported that the gender dysphoria coincided with an increase in internet/social media use, or the self-identification of a friend of that teen as transgender, or both. In addition to peer and cultural influence, the stories of people who regret a past gender transition often share that their attempt to change their sex was a kind of band-aid approach to dissociate from emotional distress and even trauma. Jaleesa Vine, in a heartbreaking testimony on how gender surgeries ruined her life, explained, the majority of my life so far has been a trauma response. My whole identity has been rooted in trauma. My transition was a trauma response. Similarly, Grace Leidensky Smith, who received top surgery at the age of 23 and detransitioned about 16 months later, explained in an interview, according to the New York Times, I slowly came to terms with the fact that it had been a mistake born out of a mental health crisis. Despite such stories of regret over gender transition, the psychological immaturity of teens, and the permanent damage inflicted by top surgeries, such as removing the possibility of breastfeeding future children, doctors and parents continue to facilitate such top surgeries for minors with legal impunity in many states. Guidelines issued by the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, which now allow for top surgeries for minors on a case-by-case basis, initially endorsed top surgeries for teens 15 and up, but rescinded this decision after backlash from major medical groups. Some argue that the extremely lucrative nature of transgender surgeries tilts the consensus of the medical community, a point highlighted by the recent explosive revelation that Vanderbilt University Medical Center promoted gender transitions surgeries, including top surgeries, for minors as a huge money maker. Dr. Shane Sebel-Taylor, a physician with Vanderbilt University Medical Center for Transgender Health, noted that chest reconstruction can mean $40,000 per patient.
Wow.
The New York Times noted that top surgery itself costs anywhere from $9,000 to $17,000, depending on facility and anesthesia fees, and that the procedure is often not covered by insurance until patients turn 18. Jarrett Stepman, writing for the Daily Signal, highlighted the double standard that leftists hold regarding the mutilation of transgender surgeries, and the lack of evidence that such operations have any beneficial impact on mental health. Studies are being published in support of procedures like top surgeries that are rife with problems. For example, Dr. Johanna Olson Kennedy, the medical director of Children's Hospital Los Angeles, claims that she has had a 0% regret rate for chest surgery, and is the lead author of a study that claims teens that had not undergone the procedure reported significantly more distress because of their chests, the New York Times shared. But, as the Times noted, most patients were surveyed less than 2 years after their surgeries, and nearly 30% could not be contacted or declined to participate. Moreover, at least one detransitioner has shared that she did not inform her initial surgeon about her decision to reverse course. Questioning why short-term distress over one's physical appearance is being used as the be-all, end-all criterion for a permanently life-altering decision, Stepman asked, how many more children will be sacrificed on the altar of this new public religion? Friends, I leave you with this holy writ from God's word. Jesus answered and said unto them, have ye not read, that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? Matthew 19 verse 4. In Leviticus chapter 18 we find this divine counsel from our Maker, thou shalt not lie with mankind, as with womankind, it is abomination. Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled which I cast out before you, and the land is defiled, therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomits out her inhabitants. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourns among you. For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled. That the land spew not you out also, when ye defile it, as it spurred out the nations that were before you. For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people. Leviticus 20 verse 13 states, if a man also lie with mankind, as he lies with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination, they shall surely be put to death, their blood shall be upon them. Finally, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 through 11.
Okay, folks, I think you get the gist of this. I want to add something else here. Aside from the assault on women, this is an assault on children. Mutilating children. Children, their brains are not fully developed until the ages of 21 to 23. If they're not permitted to vote, why would you permit them to amputate their breasts or their genitalia? Why wouldn't you allow them to wait until 18 years old at least? Or 18 or 20 years old? I remember when my daughter was younger, She wanted a tattoo in the worst way. So many of her friends were getting tattoos. I was against it. And then I said to her, I said, you know what? If you still want a tattoo when you're 18, then you get a tattoo, and actually I'll get one with you. How about that? But she would ask me all the time, "Oh, mommy, I so and so has a tattoo. You're so mean. You won't let me get a tattoo." I said, "Well, you know, it's permanent. Once you have it, it's not going to be removed. You might not like it, and you do want to apply for university, so you might be judged for having a tattoo." But she would ask me all the time, and I would tell her the same thing. If you still want a tattoo, when you turn 18, go get it, and I'll get one with you. Well, my daughter turned 18. She never got the tattoo, and neither did I. My daughter's in her 30s now. She's never been tattooed, to the best of my knowledge. But the thing is, you know, children see what other children are doing. I watch TikTok, and I have watched the most incredible videos of awkward looking boys transforming themselves into drag queens with the use of cosmetics, so much makeup, contouring, implants, wigs, etc. Why? Why? Because it's a fad. They're getting attention. They're getting more attention as a drag queen than they would as an awkward looking teenager. Now, I've known a lot of awkward looking teenagers. I was one. I was an awkward looking teenager at one time, and we all grow out of it. We all blossom. We turn into, you know, attractive people as adults. But children don't know this because their parents need to instill in them that they are beautiful as they are, to validate them, and that's not happening. Parents are being indoctrinated into thinking, well, if my child complains, I'll help them. And parents want the attention too. There are a lot of parents that want the attention. I mean, look at that child. What's the name? Damon is amazing. I don't know. Is that the right name? That child, that boy, who's dressed up as a girl most of the time, is being indoctrinated amongst adults who are doing drugs. It's horrible. I believe it's like child abuse. But that's my personal opinion. It's my personal opinion because I grew up at a time, I mean, I'm in my 60s now, where this was unheard of. You might have hear one or two people who were really trapped, literally the trapped in the wrong body type thing. I mean, it does happen. It really does happen because when the sperm meets the egg, it doesn't always go as planned. There are some children that are born literally with two sets of genitalia. Sometimes they're born with a genitalia that is not completely formed. So you don't know if it's a boy or a girl. And the doctors make horrific errors in judgment by not even telling the parents and doing whatever it is that they want to make that child look correct. But anyway, I digress. This is a very serious topic. It impacts children, the future children, because once these children change to the opposite sex, they are no longer biologically able to conceive children. These women who have cut off their breasts and they want to transition back, even if they go for reconstruction surgery, they will never be able to nurse a baby in the future. And think of that for a minute. With the current food shortages that we're experiencing around the world, the most natural thing to do in the world is to nurse your baby. I mean, I know I did until I had to return to work. So this is an assault on children of all ages, on humanity. I'm interested in hearing your If you have any stories to share, any comments, I know that this is a very touchy topic. And this is not to discredit anyone for undergoing what they feel will make them feel like a whole person. But I will share that most teenagers don't feel like whole people. I know that when I was a teenager, I had a friend, I won't say her name, but she had the biggest boobs for a little girl. I mean, she was short too, so it made her boobs look even bigger. And everybody would tease her, she's got such big boobs. But I didn't have the big boobs, but I got the large hips, the wide hips. And they looked wider than they actually were because my waistline was so tiny. So when she and I would walk down the block, all the boys would tease us, "Oh, there goes hips and tits." That's exactly what they would say. There goes hips and tits. And we were, young teenagers at the time. And I remember like trying to diet. It's not that I needed to lose weight. I was trying to lose my hips. My hips weren't going anywhere because they were hip bones. It's not like I had fat on my hips. They just wouldn't, the bone structure of my body was that my hips protruded because my waistline was so tiny. And I realize now as an adult that that's actually beautiful. It's something that is attractive to most people, the curvaceous figure. But I'll tell you that when I was a teenager, I absolutely hated it. And I hated it to the point where I would stop eating, thinking that it's going to make my hip bones disappear. And that never happens. It just made my waistline smaller. And again, back in my generation, that's what women did. We looked at the skinny little models and we wanted to be like them. We didn't realize that those skinny little models were starving themselves, that they became anorexic and bulimic, that they were vomiting their lunches and dinners in the sake of beauty. We don't hear of that much more anymore. But this is what we're listening to. This is what our culture is focused on. Changing sexes. Now, I'm going to say something, it's going to piss some people off, and I don't really care. But the devil's work is to invert everything. Boy to girl, girl to boy, good to evil, pure to impure. It's the work of the devil. And that's what Satanist loves to do. And we are being ruled by Satanists and their agenda. And I'll leave it at that for now. This is Lorraine Alternative Homesteading. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification button.